What's up? What's the word?
We joined by a special guest, none other than Mr. Aaron Mallory, the CEO of Grow Community. How's it going, brother?
Hi, Aaron.
Thanks for having me. I'm doing good, man. How you doing, man?
We're doing amazing. We're doing amazing. We're doing amazing, man. So, uh, Aaron, tell us a little bit about Grow. Let's start there. Let's break the ice. Tell us a little bit about Grow Community.
Yeah, so Grow Community, we're a community mental health center. Started in Chicago, far south side of Chicago, the greater Roseland area. Our mission is molding boys and healing broken men. And we do that by being intentional about creating real authentic clinical services, particularly for boys and men, and particularly African American boys and men. Our niche is that we provide black male counselors to address the need of the boys and young men within our community. Substantial amount of clients that we work with are young people on probation through Cook County probation, men coming home from Illinois Department of Corrections, but also moms who, just trying to find a positive male figure for their son, somebody who they can, have talk to their son about the things they're dealing with, whether in the community, in the house, or etc. So um, started off with an idea, and God's been good, and we've grown pretty quickly. So we're in Chicago, we're in Peoria, we're in Rockford. We just opened up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and we really have an ambitious goal to really fill the void within our community. And the other thing too, I think that separates us, or at least we really cater to the Medicaid population. Oftentimes, individuals who have Medicaid have a hard time getting quality mental health services. And, with this being Mental Health Awareness Month, oftentimes, you know, if you don't have good insurance, it's really hard to get quality mental health services. And so for us, we're trying to change that. Like, it shouldn't be about how much money you got. If you need quality services, you should be able to get it. And so our services are really catered to the Medicaid population.
Okay. All right. I was about to just bring up that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. That's probably that kind of sparked the conversation to get you on the show with us today. You and I have a 15-year history, and we always like to go back and debate about certain things.
Always good. It's always good dialogue, though. It's
this,
always good dialogue. Yes.
this is great dialogue. So I guess we can start there. Like when we start talking about Mental Health Awareness Month, and then you just mentioned that this is a resource and a really need in our community, but you feel like is it hard for people to obtain it, or is it something that you feel like people just don't know about?
And I think it's a combination of both, right? I think uh, part of it, we still have a stigma in our community about mental health, right? Like where it's like, nah, I don't need to talk to anybody about what's going on. I can deal with it myself, especially for boys and men. Like we're kind of taught, like, hey, tough it out, figure it out yourself. And mental health is like this taboo thing, right? So I think part of it is like lack of education, is stigma around it, and then the other part of it is there is a shortage, right? A lot of community mental health centers or agencies out here, there's a wait list, and even just looking at the data, like, most agencies that provide these services are backlogged. One, because of the shortage of professionals in the space. I think two is because people are reaching out and need it. But it's just not enough clinicians out here to be able to provide those services. And I think if we dig a little deeper for Black men specifically, there's a shortage of Black male clinicians in this space as well. And so if you do get a Black man or a Black teen that says, hey, I want a male particularly that wanting to talk to somebody, it's such a shortage of having somebody they can connect with, and therapeutic rapport, having somebody that you can connect with is everything. Like, when you're in therapy, you want somebody that understands you, that can connect with you, that it's not like you just talking to somebody and they kind of clueless, right? And so having somebody that look like you that can connect to you is super important to create that treatment process. And unfortunately, in our community is limited, right? So I think those variables are kind of what's tied into the challenges that's taking place.
I have a question. So, with you all working with, I know you say you work with Black moms as well, but primarily just working with Black males. What are some initiatives or some things that you, or I would say incentives, initiatives, or things that your program provides that makes Black males more comfortable to come and get your services? Because I feel like out of a lot of different demographics, it's very hard to get a Black man to seek help mentally, or go to therapy, or even like like group sessions or things like that. So what are some
That's
things
real.
that you guys do?
No, that's real. A lot of our clients, well, a nice amount, are kind of like mandated to come to us, and that kind of sound.
Mm.
And if they ain't mandated, like, like it's very frequent. We'll get wives or girlfriends calling and say, "Hey, my boyfriend or husband needs to talk to somebody, and we on the rocks. And if he don't do this, I don't know how this relationship is going to go, right?" Or it's moms, right? And so oftentimes it is that reluctance. And one of the things that we've done though is to say, hey, this isn't going to be like a traditional counseling session. So it's not like you're gonna walk into a room, sit on the couch, and talk. Right? We'll come to you. With our teens, our staff will pull up and we might play basketball first, or get on a PS4. Like I play video games, or just engage in activities where it's going to build that rapport. Where it's like, first, I want you to know that I'm down to earth. Let's get to know each other. Let's go out to eat and just talk first. And we ain't got to dig into the clinical part, but just let's kind of build that camaraderie. And oftentimes that was kind of like breaks the ice and kind of builds that rapport, so that then we can start really addressing the things that are going on. And even our young people that are on probation, or our men coming in from IDOC, like they're reluctant in the beginning, but afterwards all their conditions are done, they're still sticking around. Like it's very common that guys stay around afterwards because it's just having somebody now that you can connect with. But again, it's just that whole thought. And I think just as men and boys, we're taught, like I said earlier, to kind of hold these things in and don't talk to anybody. And so is that reluctance. And once you see like it's something different, it's a smoother path.
Do you do well outside of like doing things like playing basketball and going out? Do you guys do things like within a group with like all of your clients together? Like, do they get to build a community within themselves?
Yeah, yeah. So we provide group counseling, and we have two like very unique group counselings. One is for our men who come home from prison. We have a clinical workforce program, we call it, where they do groups, incorporating cognitive behavioral therapy, and really just working through like, hey, how do you recognize your thoughts, and how your thoughts are tied to emotions, and how your beliefs drive your thoughts and emotions. But in these group settings, these guys are able to really process what they were dealing with. Oftentimes, the risky situations that they may have put themselves in that led them into the criminal justice system. And then from there, we have an in-house screen print facility where they work and make T-shirts together. Kind of learn just the business work ethic of kind of working in like an assembly type setting, to prepare them for being able to go into unsubsidized jobs and be able to help them enhance their employment opportunities. And then we have another group for guys who are first time weapon offenders. In the state of Illinois, unlawful use of a weapon is a class 4 felony. And so, particularly in Chicago, there's a substantial amount of black men that are getting arrested for this. It's really, I think, it's a new form of mass incarceration. We had drugs in the 80s and 90s. Now they're just using guns on us. And so, though, we do groups for these guys to help them get a second chance. And so, again, it's an opportunity for them to talk about why they're carrying these firearms illegally. Oftentimes, it's not knowing the laws. Others, it's just they're scared in their community, don't feel like police or anybody is doing anything, and need to find a form of safety. And so, in these group settings, they're able to really process the things they're dealing with in their community, also recognize the trauma that's happened in their lives that they were never able to label as trauma, right? And so being able to hear other stories like, yo, that happened to me, and I didn't recognize that's why I'm acting or doing the things I'm doing as well. So definitely, the group components are something that's important to us, and really being intentional about creating that space for our clients.
What what's the outcome of them usually? I don't know if you can talk about this, but what is
Yeah.
the outcome of them usually when it clicks, like when they start to recognize their trauma and process through the trauma and really start to understand like why this happened because I reacted this way and now it's affecting me like this. Because I teach at a juvenile delinquent center, but I teach digital literacy. But of course, you still have to get to know the guys, and we still have to like some type of bond for them to be able to trust me, or otherwise they're gonna come in my class and be like, I'm not doing this, and there's nothing you can do about it. So what are usually like the aftermath, like the outcome of them really realizing what's going on inside?
Yeah, everybody is different, right? And it varies, right? I'll tell you a story. I remember I had a 10-year-old I was doing counseling with, and he had came to my office because he had been diagnosed with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, just bouncing off the wall, can't focus, cutting up in school. But after a while of building rapport, and really just kind of allowing him to process just kind of life in general, he said to me, Aaron, I think I know why I'm the way I am, and I keep getting in trouble in school. And he said, I can't get the image out of my mind when I saw my mom being strangled by my father, and I couldn't do nothing about it. And he said that image just keeps lingering, right? And when we talk about, mom being abused and kids witnessing that, that's a form of adverse child experiences. That's a form of toxic stress, right? But like he identified, like when that happened, I saw that that's what created this behavior. But I think during the therapy, he was able to process this out and able to have conversations and dialogue and recognize it. And at 10, we started to see, like, as we processed that experience, that attention started to be well managed. It started, those symptoms started to reduce. But like he had to get to the point where he recognized what was the trigger of that, right? And I think too, in our community, when we talk about adverse child experiences, toxic stress is young people being exposed to events, whether that's abuse in the household, neglect, somebody in the household went to prison, somebody in the house using drugs, moms cursing their kids out like, shut the F up, why are you doing it, right? Which is kind of popular in our community and our culture, right? It's been passed down. All those things are stressors that creates neurological implications, right? Where then it could be a byproduct of can't focus, becoming impulsive, right? Becoming angry, depression, right? And so what happens is that you have these experiences going on in a household that don't go touched, and then now we start seeing these behaviors and outcomes like this, right? And so when somebody recognizes that, so in the group setting, somebody recognizes like, yo, that happened to me in my house. That's why I've been acting like this. It's almost like an aha moment, but it's almost like a feeling of like, oh, it makes sense. And it's like I always wonder why I turn up and I go from 0 to 100 real quick, or why I'm always angry, and it's never like, but they never recognize that this is part and the research and the science around it. And then when you start having these conversations, it's like it all starts making sense. And I think for them, they're able to like paint the picture and the puzzle pieces start to make clear. And then once it's clear, then you can really start processing and really addressing those things that are taking place.
Yeah, and then the aftermath of that is being able, especially if you're still sometimes in that situation, because I
Yes.
know a lot of my guys, like when they get out of the juvenile delinquent program, they end up going right back to like the neighborhood or the household where everything happened at. So it's like you triggered all over again, even though you could spend 4 to 5 days in this program, you still have to go home to what you're used to. So do you guys have like a step after they complete the program, or do you guys send them to like a different program to kind of just get them elevated within society?
Yeah, that's a good point. And so like our discharge process is when the client feel like they've completed the process, right? And things
Hmm.
have been done. And so, everybody's discharge part is going to be different. But to your point is that if you are dealing with trauma in your community and you have to go right back into that same community, it's really hard to change, right? And
Yeah.
so, I think that's something that's been pressing on me for a while. And I love the work we're doing, but I don't think it's enough. And I don't think it's going to be enough until we start addressing this at the macro level. Like, how do we
Yeah.
start creating safer communities?
Cause
How do we start educating communities?
I've had guys who like straight up told me like I'm safer in here. Like it's easier in here than me being outside.
Yeah, like if you 14 and I've had clients and we got clients now, 14-year-old who says to me, uh, I've lost my family members and friends to gun violence, and I know I can't go down certain streets because if I go down that street, that's my life. He's not saying, "Oh, I might get jumped in a fight." He's saying, "No, somebody's going to kill me, or I'm not riding the CTA because that's my life." And this is the United States of America. Why is a 14-year-old scared and concerned on how they navigate their own community?
In a
Um,
free country.
in a free country, but I guarantee you, they pigment one like mine or yours, something to be done about that. And I ain't gonna go down that rabbit hole right now, unless Cordell trigger me. But like but like for real though, like that's not normal, but it's normal in our community, and it's like it shouldn't be. Like the level of death that our young people experience, which is another form of trauma, witnessing, experience, and seeing that, right? That it shouldn't be that way. And so, like going back to your point, like how do you help individuals integrate back into the community, or after they get these services, or your guys saying like, yo, I'd rather be in here, it's safer here than going back out. I think we really got to think on a macro level, how do we change the constructs of our communities that creates this lack of feeling safety? Like when we think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's a theory of like how do you get to your purpose or self fulfillment or like actualization, right? And after food, water, and shelter, number two is safety. Like if you don't feel safe, it's hard to get to your purpose in life. It's hard to get to like full fulfillment of life if you don't feel safe. And oftentimes in our communities, we got a lot of young brothers out here, just brothers in general, sisters too. They're not feeling safe. And so I think that's something that, like I think we're doing okay work, but until we can address this macro level and really start shifting the narrative, start shifting what is should be normal, what's not, I think we're gonna continue to have these challenges. But I'm optimistic that we're gonna get there in this lifetime, Lord willing. We're gonna get there though.
Nah, I would love to see it in this lifetime for myself as well because as being the teen black man in the South Side Chicago, I definitely remember and I definitely got cousins and friends and even myself when I was young. Like, yo, it's certain neighborhoods I can't go to because something could happen to me. You know what I mean? Or I can't be around these type of people. And like to this day, and when you explain certain stuff like that, certain people, like how you say, like different pigmentations, different communities, different cultures, they don't even understand what you're talking about. When you tell somebody like, nah, I can't really go kick it on that block, or I can't be over here like that because I don't know who's there, and that type of trauma and it just can't, it shouldn't be able to live with people. And I see that with our young people all the time. It be affecting them from getting jobs. I know a lot of them that won't work anywhere because they like, yo, I'm too exposed. You know what I mean? So that's affects our community on so many levels. Now it's affecting our economy, affecting the money that flows to. And that's why I think that's kind of has something to do with why a lot of them want us to start robbing. Like why you see them just robbing and turning to crime because they can't make an honest living because, like how you said, they can be exposed. Um, but I know, so we just gonna pray and we just continue to support people like Mallory and just doing the work, and to change that narrative and give more opportunities and resources to the community. I do know one of the things that you and I go back and forth on is because of music, and I'm in music, I'm in entertainment, we're in music entertainment, and you, we had you mentioned, and I'm gonna let you take it from here. You mentioned that music is a form of therapy and it can help us through a lot of things, right? But the issue that we have a lot of time in our community is the music that we listen to. It doesn't calm us or it doesn't help us bring peace. It actually fuels that violence, fuels that trauma, fuels that anxiety. So I'm gonna give you the floor for you to speak on that.
I'm on your side, Aaron, just to let you know.
Well,
I agree
you
with
know,
you.
I think when we like this is how I look at it, right? Like we think about drill music, right? And uh, like people will say, and I agree. Like part of drill music is talking about the culture, the environment in which you're in which you're growing up, right? And so it's like, all right, we're talking about it, but then you do have certain messaging that's being promoted that goes back to what I said earlier, like black men being arrested for unlawful use of weapons, like it's crazy in Cook County, and they all black. Like 75% of the arrests are black, right, and are getting classed for felonies. But that's a byproduct of what's being normalized of how life is supposed to be in regards to carrying guns. Where now it's a fad. Where so we got 13, 14-year-olds coming in probation because they got ARs and they got switches, and that's what's being promoted and what they listening to. And they like a couple kids, like we get about 40 kids a month. And out of those 40 kids, 35 got gun cases, right? And out of that 35, 20 to 25 was because of some switches or something. Like so, like I think we got to think about they listening to it, and now it's fragmented because they listening to the kids on their block that's rapping about this stuff, right? Like it ain't even like they listening to mainstream like that. It's that local rapper that's on your local block, and this is what they talking about. That's reinforcing all this stuff, and it's real, it's reality, right? And my critics say to me, "Well, Aaron, you got other races, other people. They listen to this, they have fun. Or other people they listen, and they don't do nothing to them." But I think the thing is that when you're listening to something and this is your reality and this is all you hear, this is all you see, then you think this is how life is supposed to be. It's different when you got stepped out, went to another area, another neighborhood, another community. You saw how life is. You live in a different life, and this is fun. This is entertainment. I step in and step out. But a lot of our kids in our communities, this is all they know. Like I don't know. It's two theories like or studies that were done, right? And one was with dogs, and basically they put and now I don't like the study because I'm a dog lover. I got a dog, so but the study is interesting in the sense that they took dogs, they put them in a cage, right, and they kind of put like electricity by the door, and every time the dog would try to leave that door, they would shock the dog. After a while, the dog said, "Forget it, I'm not going to the door anymore," and they just laid in a cage. But then that dog had puppies, and the puppies were taught the same thing. So they didn't even try to escape the door. And then those puppies had puppies. It was the same thing. And so what happens is it's learned helplessness. It's a condition. And so it's the same thing in our community. We've been conditioned to be this way. It's a perpetual cycle. It's what we taught, it's what we see, whether in media and TV, our environment. We're fueled these things and we think this is how life is supposed to be. Now, some people are able to see something different and step out, right? And so I'm not saying this everybody, but like we got kids who we work with who have never left or seen downtown Chicago, or let alone ever left Chicago in their little radius community. Like that's a reality that happens a lot, right? So if all you see is one particular environment and then the music you listen to, it ain't give you no hope. It ain't give you none. It's telling you to do the same thing. We got the ops, we da da da. It's reinforcing these same behaviors psychologically. And then we have this perpetual, like nobody else, no other race has the level of media that we have that promotes what it promotes and what it does, right? Now, I mean, just let's like impact. I'm about to put some research out that shows it, right? So, because I know we got to get to the data, so I'm working on that. But like, nobody else is like being conditioned in our community the way it is. And like, my question is, why is that? Like, and again, we can go deeper into this. So, so now we got somebody that's dealing with depression. We got somebody that's dealing with trauma, right? You got somebody who witnessed their cousin be killed and there's no like hope. They listen to the same thing, and so it's that hey retaliation. Let me do something, and so then this person then ends up in the same situation, either dead or incarcerated. But it's because of the environment and because of the ear gates, right? Like I mean, your ear gates, all this stuff is like it's important that we recognize what we feed ourselves, right?
What
And
we feed ourselves. Nah, that's valid because I know personally, I I literally like we just having this conversation and we could probably I don't know we got the picture with all with the
Are we
little
putting
dude
that up?
when the little dudes
Can we put that on
was
YouTube?
pointing. I don't know if you've seen it, but it was a viral picture of these rappers in Chicago.
Did it go viral?
Yeah,
It went
definitely on
it definitely
Facebook.
went, it went
Facebook,
viral.
No Jumper talked about it.
Yeah, it went on all the little blog sites. That's why Joel Q called them out. Like, why y'all promoting this negative stuff? But it's a bunch of rappers from the city, and they in a circle doing a Spider-Man meme, but they're holding guns at each other. You know the Spider-Man meme when they look at each other like that, they point at each other, but they're just pointing they're pointing guns at each other.
Oh, I ain't gonna say that.
But it's little things like that, like how you just said, they just fool because all the kids think it's cool. Like, oh, that's cool, so I'm gonna do that with my friends, or I'm gonna have the guns out with my friends, like, cause that they think that was cool. And the way hip hop is going now, like at first I was with me, the debate me and you used to have was that the people are rapping, it's the product of the environment. It's the same thing when NWA came out, like everybody was just rapping the product of their environment. Where they come in, they just telling their truth. But now it's to a point now where it's like, and I don't know if it's because I've been exposed to more now, and I've been to college, and I traveled the world, and I've seen things. Well, that's not my environment. That's not my reality no more. So I don't even like listening to that type of music. Like I'm throwing on R&B, I'm throwing on Nas, I'm throwing on some Afro beats, things that's gonna make me think, make me feel good, that give me motivation. Like I ain't really thinking about, what I'm saying, no killing and stuff like that. But I do understand when I'm listening to Kill Shit by G Herbo, or not a shout out, just not saying G Herbo, but just certain music when I'm outside, give me a different aggression. Like when I'm in the club, like why he looking at me like that? And it really be like, nah, G. Like ain't nobody getting shot to Bob Marley. Like,
Typically, that's how I be feeling like when
like
people
hey,
be
that's
fighting.
right though. That's right though.
When people
It's
be
give you a
fighting at
whole
like
different
R&B
vibe.
concerts, it's like, bro, Monica's singing.
Singing.
Like, why are y'all fighting at a Monica concert? Like, we supposed to be loving on each other.
like Brit Fire ass concerts be looking smooth.
Okay, like a vibe.
It'd be like a vibe, and I think that's why I'm at in life, because that's what I've been exposed to. But when you go back to the community, a lot of the shorties they not exposed to it, and that's kind of the reason why we got this platform. What's the word to elevate voices and try to expose people to different things. So like I'm conceding on air that I'm on your side with this argument. We've been going back and
Yay.
forth with this
Okay.
argument for
Hey,
years.
hey,
Yay. You the first person that ever
hey,
can tell you
I
take
can go home
accountability.
now. I'm good. I got
Okay,
something back.
it's done.
'Cause me and Mallory would go back and forth, like literally when I first told her to get on the show, you like, yo, no, you know how I am. Cause he was gonna go. But
Okay, you made some very valid point. Even in the media space, like I think the big difference between like the shorties in like the media space and how we portray or how like that culture is portrayed in the media space. Everybody on the media side just looks at it as entertainment when they know it to be their reality. So when you looking at something that you live through every day and you're with these artists that's making 600K, 700K views on the video that they put out and they shot it on the block and spent like $400 on it, and you see everybody sharing it and posting it, you think, that's the way that I gotta stop doing it. My nail is gone. Sorry, I forgot what I said. You'll think that, that's the way that life's supposed to go. Like that's your reality. Like you said, you're not exposed to anything else. But everybody else on the other side, on the receiving end of it, they have a choice. They
That's
can
real.
step into it when they pre-gaming. We can step into it when we in the club. But 8 o'clock in the morning the next day, we putting on our suits how we going to work. Like we have that choice to click out. And a lot of people that are still in our neighborhoods and still around this culture, they don't have that choice. Or they don't think that they have that choice.
I don't know how true this is. So man, I'm not in tune with everything, but I saw something that said Future said he don't do drugs, and if that's true, these kids are doing so much of these drugs. Like we got kids that are doing opioids and Xanax. It's crazy, and
Because the amount of futures in the world, everybody
so
else doing drugs.
So if he's not and promoting this, I mean it's bogus either way. But if he's really not doing these drugs and then I mean it's we got so many kids that we work with who are doing these drugs as a byproduct, as a coping mechanism, and I know they learned this as a coping mechanism by the music and the culture that they see. So they're trying to deal with their trauma, but they popping these pills and they doing all this stuff because they feel like that's what get them at a base level to calm down a little bit. And so my thing is, it's scary to say that somebody is creating all of this content. I mean, majority of his content, that's what he's promoting. If he's not doing it, that's the thing about media is that we have to be conscious of what we put out here because young people are listening to this and thinking this is how life is supposed to be. And and it's very dangerous. And so I think, you asked this question about like, what do we do about, our guys that go get done with treatment, we got to go back to these communities, or the guys that's locked up currently and they say they feel safer here and they don't feel safe going back into their community. I really feel like on the macro level, we got to address this media game. And I'm not saying protest and rally. That ain't gonna do nothing. I mean, you got to play the game that's being played. Like we got to play the same way that's being played, right? But for positive, right? Like how do we control our media? How do we start putting out content that's hot? Like because the thing is, you can't put out some stuff that's cheesy. People are not gonna listen to it. But I think we got to really start challenging what is the authenticity of what we put out, and like, hey, there's got to be a certain level to it. Like we can't just be we're content with putting out trash. We content, and when I say trash, this messaging, like this is we allow it, we're cool with it, right? And we get excited about it, right? And somebody because they got some jewelry, they looking good, right? We glorify that. I think we gotta be cool with challenging that. And it's got to be cool to be like, hey, you know what? I'm upright. I went to college. I'm doing what's good, and I could be an artist and putting out some dope stuff, and it's hot. Like I think it's possible. I know it's possible, but we got to play that same game, right? And the industry is backed by a lot of people that got money and they got marketing schemes, they got marketing plans. They're very tact in what they do, and so I think we got to be thinking the same way, like because at the end of the day, all this stuff is a business. It's just a business for our demise. Essentially, we lead all the bad stuff. We lead in men that are incarcerated. The leading cause of death of black men in this country is homicide. Between the ages of 0 and 34, we dying by homicide. We ain't dying like you look at the chart. Everybody else is like accidental death. Accidental is small for us. It's homicide, and ain't nobody else dying nowhere near the homicide like how we dying across this country. But then we think about what's being reinforced and what we listen to, right? Like, and for me, I'm just confused why the dots haven't been connected, right? Because like it's like we're annihilating ourselves. We're not in our communities, and it seems like we cool with it, or we seem like it's supposed to be this way, or it's normal, or it is what it is. And so and it all ties right back to the mental health because trauma is real. Exposure to adverse child experiences is real, and I think we got to get to the core of that. So I'll go on a tangent with this all day, Cordell. You know how I am, but
We'll have to bring
um,
it back.
yeah, like I mean, I just really appreciate y'all putting this platform out here and just giving me the space. And of course, encouraging mental health. Like if you feeling like you've been down and out, or you're just dealing with stuff, like feel free to reach out to Grow 773-253-8385. We got clinicians. There's no wait list. I'm really intentional about that. Like we're very aggressive in making sure that if a brother calls and need help, he can get it. Like I don't play that. You got to wait 2 months or no, like because it's very important that we heal mentally. Because once we get right mentally as a community, then we can really lift our community up. But if we're not right here, we can't do anything else. And for so long, I mean, just think about the trauma as a people we've been through from slavery on. Like, I mean, there's research that shows that epigenetics is the impact of your DNA, and impressions of DNA change because of trauma, and it's passed down from generation to generation. Like, they did studies on the Holocaust to see individuals who were exposed in the Holocaust, their kids were having certain things, and it was all passed down. That trauma had an impact and changed their whole DNA expression. And you think about us as a people, the type of trauma we've been through from the Atlantic slave trade, all the way to what we've been through. That's a lot of trauma that's been passed down, right? I think moms have great intentions, but if they were abused or had things happen to them, it's been normalized, and so they do it to their kids, and so we have this perpetual cycle. I really feel like moms, they knew the if moms understood what adverse child experiences was and toxic stress. They wouldn't do it in front of their kids, but they don't understand it and they don't know the ramifications of it, so they do it, right? So how do we create billboards, or how do we create buses that have created imagery that make a mom think, or commercials, or on social media you see things that's created that make a mom think like, oh my goodness, I didn't know when I do that in front of my son that can have an impact on him.
Mm.
Stuff like that. Like that's the type of game I think we got to start playing. So yeah.
No, I think this is a conversation very needed.
Yeah, for
We
sure.
definitely appreciate you coming on here, and the last little bar that you just said, the way just thinking of different ways to make us think, because we get it's shout out to my barber Enos. He put this in my ear. He said every time you see a new ad, every time you walk out the door, probably every like 5 seconds you're being sold some type of ad, some type of indirect billboard product or something like that. So we're seeing ads all the time to tell us to go buy some stuff. Why don't we have some ads, some imagery, some murals, some things that's out there that's making us think, or just helping us? What is it? Not indirect. What's the calling when it's not like it's not indirectly, but it's like
Subliminal messages.
yeah, subliminal messages. Like you get some subliminal messages that help you think and just help you better your household and how your relationships you got with your kids. Because even when you talked about trauma and DNA, like anybody seen that movie, the Amazon show
I'm scared to watch it.
them them is definitely an example of being trauma in your DNA. So from season one all the way to season two, I don't think if you Aaron, I guarantee you should watch this show. But season one is taking place in the 1950s. It's a family moved from the rural South. They moved to LA. Dad worked Dad works for like NASA or something like that. Mom just take care of kids, but the white people, it's like some crazy stuff happening to them that they don't want them in their neighborhood. It's just talk about it opens up explaining redlining. That's how I'm gonna say it like that. It opens up
Yeah.
explaining redlining, and from the bank's perspective, like why we don't want this and how we gonna increase the interest rate and escrow and all that for redlining for people of color. That's how the series open up. Crazy. Season two is basically 30 years later into like the 1990s, and it's showing like it's the same family, but one of the daughters that experienced all that trauma in the 1950s, she gave up her kids because she was like it was just too much on us, so she gave her
Mm.
kids up for adoption, and
Mm.
it just showed them in like the foster care system and how it was affecting them and like trauma. Like one of them had like trauma, and make a long story short, when I tweeted like man, like it's some I think I tweeted like they had trauma in their DNA, and I think Wall Street Chopper he retweeted like no, we got trauma in our DNA, and that was like some real like black people as in general in our culture, like we a lot of trauma in our DNA. So
For sure.
that was a bar, man. Mal, Aaron, man, you could talk all day. Like this is this is us. This is us, man. We appreciate you for coming on, man.
Thank you.
You already let us know. Let the people know one more time how they can get in contact with Grow.
Yeah. So our number for intake is 773-253-8385. Website growcommunity.org. And if you put Grow Community on all the social media, GRO, no W, GRO community. You can find us as well.
Yeah, we gonna get that posted up on the we gonna get that posted up on the socials too. So anybody watching, gonna get that posted up on social media for What's the Word. Follow us, and you will be able to get in contact with them for Mental Health Awareness Month and just anything else they got going on in the future. We gonna have Aaron back. We have him back.
Yeah, we should do like a mental health check-in segment or something like once a month.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
I like that. Look at that. We coming up with content. Look.
Great job.
All right, newbie man. Appreciate you, man. And we gotta talk soon,
Yo,
man.
take care.
Hey, what's up? What's the word?